fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them. Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my God! Big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go. Oh no!
That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?
Good evening, it's that Skippy time of the week. Once again, it's Ozicar Formula Skip Barber Series time. Our final round in the UK for Season 3 before we head to Spa next week. Today it's Oulton Park using the full international layout minus the first chicane, which means we are in for plenty of drafting and overtaking today across both our races live right here on Simspeed TV. As always, my name is Ryan Jones, and alongside me, David Haynes. Jake Kennedy is behind the scenes on this one. And David, looking forward to this race. Mitchell McLeod in qualifying, currently fastest, but as we've seen time and time again, it's not all that you need to do to win these races.
Yeah, indeed. You mentioned the slipstreaming. There's going to be quite a bit on the back straight, but other than that, it's a relatively narrow, kind of a bumpy circuit here, so it is definitely a challenge, especially compared to other circuits we've been at, like Grand Prix Silverstone. You can't imagine a more different track than that to be here.
Silverstone, the fast-flowing, open circuit that it is, and then Oulton Park, the undulation you can see just there, out of the last corner up towards the start-finish straight, if you want to call it that. The pit entry quite tight here as well. That'll play a part over in race 2. Some old-looking monuments, we'll call it, at this place as well, scanned by iRacing, of course. Here's our starting grid for race 1. So Mitchell McLeod has the pole by 0.3 of a second almost over Paul Beatty. He'll start second. Matthew Mites and Mario Vartanian will share row 2. Sean Doyle and Nathan Verney start from 5th and 6th. Dennis Hancock and Julian Mookie line up 7th and 8th. 9th and 10th go to Peter Wilkinson and Jeremy Bush.
Next half of the grid is Braden Martin in 11th, Vikbent Veltson in 12th, Ira Felberg in 13th, Isaac Summers 14th place, 15th place for Scott Melville, Leon Williams in 16th, Jack Patterson 17th, Kobe Williams, bit of surprise back there in 18th, and Cameron Cousins in 19th. You can see 18th and 19th there with no qualifying time.
Track temp for these drivers typically calm, just 28 degrees Celsius out on the racing surface. The run to turn 1 shouldn't be too tricky in these cars, which walk off the line very mundanely, no matter how aggressive you try to be. The off tracks on the outside of turn 1, that's something you've got to look out for, though, because they are notoriously stringent out there. And you sweep downhill and into the left-hander that is turn 2. A very fast kink that's turn 3, and then the hairpin of turn 4, then a long back straight towards the chicane, and where I feel we may see most of our overtaking today. So race 1 is 8 laps in length. It's a straight-out sprint from green to checkered. And it is a championship fight that at the moment could go down to the final round, but a big opportunity today for our protagonists to put themselves in the proverbial pole position for that fight at Spa. As the time runs out and we get set to go racing from Oulton Park for the first time tonight. The red lights come on, the revs rise, green flag flies, and away we go. And McLeod's not got that good of a start. Paul Beatty's actually managed to get a better one than him, and he'll have the inside here for turn 1 as we sweep through the first corner. McLeod is able to hold on the outside as behind. There's a little bit of contact between Matthew Mites and Mario Vartanian. Vartanian taking the spot away from Mites, who's trying to cover off Sean Doyle. Nathan Verney behind him as well.
Kobe Williams with no qualifying time did take the start of the race from the back of the grid. Cameron Cousins with a pit lane start, so all 19 drivers out on track right now.
Look at Mites go backwards through the middle. Verney and Doyle both go by him. And so Might's already dropping, what is that, 4 spots on lap 1. Might be another one as Hancock throws his nose up the inside. That didn't quite work out in his favour as we head up the back straight for the first time today. Up the hill and over the crest we go.
Indeed, this is where we're going to see the most overtaking, the most slipstreaming, probably the highest speeds on board with Sean Doyle. He's looking to the inside, but he's not close enough. And you've really got to be careful here because the apexes are marked with these very solid tyre bundles.
Yeah, hit those in these cars and you will find yourself missing a wheel or two very quickly. And there's not much room, if you do hit it, to bounce back out and not be collected by another car as almost side by side over. And that is why Matthew Mites is going rather slowly. His rear wing not sitting at the angle it was when it was on the starting grid. And I wonder if that was from that little bit of contact I noted through turn 1 with Mario Vartanian as Matthew Mites now falls all the way to 8th position on lap 1. Going to stay on the racetrack, but that is damage that's costing him.
Yeah, definitely seems to be a sitting duck in a straight line, maybe also missing some of the suspension geometry he would have liked. And that is wide, I thought, from Vartanian potentially there.
Just about gets away with it. No incident limits, so to speak, in this series, so he can afford to use up the off-tracks at turn 1, though. Nathan Verdi has had a mistake through turn 2 and lost himself a bunch of positions. Going to go all the way back behind Matthew Mites, who gains back a spot. One of the ones he lost on the opening lap. There's that fast turn 3 kink that leads straight into the braking zone of turn 4, the hairpin that has quite a bit of banking to it actually to help you go through the corner at a bit of a higher speed than normal. You can use that banking to your advantage to sit the car in against the apex, David.
Yeah, you hook it in there and then you just kind of want to grab the throttle and power out of it. Scott Melville hasn't had that opportunity though because he's come to grief on the way in there. Maybe the little kink that leads towards it has caught him off guard. Narrow circuit, grass everywhere, rear out of shape. Tries to hold a tighter line, and that doesn't work.
You know, I reckon he got put off by that car in front, making the same mistake. Peter Wilkinson, albeit Wilkin turned it up off the road on the right, so he gathered it up and was able to get away with it. Now, Cameron Cousins, what has he done? Through that same corner all by himself. Heads into the hairpin. Got the grass on the inside, comes out of the corner. And all seems well. But that's how you're supposed to take it. Give or take.
Further up the road then, plenty of action third on backwards, and in the thick of it is Dennis Hancock and Julian Mookie fighting over 5th here. Different lines through that turn 1, as you mentioned. Bit of a late apex there, easy to run wide as well.
Easy to clobber the inside counter to that point because... Oh, hang on. Braden Martin has just looped it right behind him. And whoa, boy! Vic Van Velzen skates through the grass and eventually loops it. Need on board from him because he came round turn 2 with not much anywhere to go other than up onto that grassy embankment on the outside. Here we go, thanks to Modem Simulation. See Martin on the outside there, grabs the grass, it flicks him around, but Velzen thinks, cool, inside, nope, can't go there, and incredibly quick reactions to avoid that vulnerable Skippy in front of him.
Yeah, indeed, too wide through the Cascades there, did not work. And there was sort of a bump on the way in, and he was around the outside, he caught a little bit of the grass, looped Braden Martin around.
Is our leaders, Mitchell McLeod and Paul Beatty. Nothing separating them. It is how it was at the end of lap 1. McLeod leading Beatty after a pretty good challenge into turn 1 from our green man, who's shown some excellent pace over the course of this season. I think many times hasn't quite grabbed the results he could have. But he
Much
has,
to the frustration of some of his teammates, we've heard.
Yes, in YouTube chat as always. But he has managed to get a couple of those good results. So that should aid him in this battle with McLeod. Who was that off in the grass? We caught it at the front of our shot through turn 1. Wherever it was, they got away with it, but that was certainly well wide. I think it was Vartanian. I think he picks up on that earlier on as well.
Yeah, he's had maybe a questionable respect for the track limits around here. But he's still holding it in third. And we've seen some other rounds. He's got a more aggressive driving style, a little bit more angle in the car than some others would like to. But still makes it work. It is a train behind him. He's under pressure from Sean Doyle, and this is the traffic jam in front of Nathan Verney in 8th. Looking at Mites, who's looking at Mookie in 6th, who's looking at Dennis Hancock in 5th. Look at them all come up over the crest.
Side by side of Vartanian, almost banging wheels with Sean Doyle, looking for 3rd place. On the outside line in the braking zone, Vartanian fights back on the inside. Carries a lot of speed, uses all of the racetrack to his advantage and reclaims the spot, as that's a slow car on the outside of the track they've just gone by. That was Cameron Cousins, and it looks like he's just letting the leaders go. Might have had a spin, though, to put himself in that position as Doyle now fights back. That sort of spot where you're going to make a move on the outside, but the crossover's on. Not quite able to fulfill it. That is a mighty exit. It was too good, and he loses his nose cone.
Might have gotten right underneath the rear wing at the same time Mario Vartanian was going for a gear shift, and he has just lost the point of that shark nose.
Distinctive livery on that car as always. That gap is fractionally closer between 1st and 2nd. It's closer than that for 3rd and 4th. Purple lap for Beatty last time by. There's Vartanian's interpretation of track limits at turn 1. Saw him do that at Coda in the... Can't remember whether it was the TCR or the Skippy, but it was a few rounds back, maybe even last season, where he was very liberal with his use of the track limits. Part of the reason the FIA have had to clamp down on their track limits in F1, because if there's racetrack there, the driver is going to use it unless they're explicitly told not to.
And this defensive driving from Vartanian is causing an absolute traffic jam, as you can see. Doyle not able to get past Hancock and gang right up on him this time. Sean Doyle's gone to the right-hand side of the circuit. Instead of having to go around the outside at the end of the straight, he's got the inside line. Vartanian still squeezing him. This has been very, very patient from Sean Doyle, but surely he's in the right place now.
He's too ginger. He is too ginger on the brakes, and it allows Vartanian to keep holding this spot. It's aggressiveness against dogged determination and caution from Doyle. A fantastic fight, really vying.
Spoiled for places to look with McLeod and Beatty battling for the lead, and also side by side 3rd and 4th. This time Doyle around the outside just has a little bit of room. He is going to have his nose in front, but around the outside for the final corner. And again, the arrogance of youth, Mario Vartanian is going to dive back down the inside and try to defend that final spot on the podium.
Not every day you've got a lead separated by a 10th and a half at the line, but it's a P3 battle that's well the one worth watching. They're side by side at the line for maybe the 3rd lap in a row. Every time Doyle goes to one of these crossovers, I think this is the time that Hancock gets his nose alongside it, but he's just not quite able to get there. He'll try again at turn 2. I think Hancock's wary to what Doyle is doing, backing up the entries, getting those crossovers and those runs. He doesn't want to poke his nose up the inside because he's not sure if Doyle will see him, and back out of it as Doyle gets a great run this time. Inside for turn 3, rear end complaining. Vartanian's front end complains, and he understeers straight off the racetrack, loses 4 spots just like that. His incredible defense comes to an end, and Doyle is up to P3, but he might just as quickly be under pressure now from Dennis Hancock as Vartanian is still side by side, this time with Mites.
So the battle side by side for 3rd just goes on and continues, because now Dennis Hancock, no damage on his nose, down the inside here for 3rd. Huge dive there from Vartanian, gets him back in front of Mites. All kicking off for 3rd now. This train led by Hancock. Doyle, all his good work and his patience, is now back into 4th again.
Poor Doyle. He finally got by Vartanian, but the way it happened, it cost him a spot to Hancock, so he's still 4th. 2 laps to go when we cross the line here. Whoa, he's grabbed the grass. And he's kept it somehow, pointed in the right direction. How about that? The opposite lock, the reaction times from Doyle. Probably unrivaled tonight. That was remarkable. He continues on. Maybe 4th place would be good for him after that moment.
Not a dab of Oppo. That was a very, very generous serving of it to keep that car on the track somehow when he caught a little bit too much grass.
There's Beatty, there's McLeod. Surely he finds an area where he can get by him. It was fastest lap of the race for McLeod last time by. There's the mistake. McLeod throws a wide at turn 2. This is going to let Beatty put his car exactly where we saw Doyle put his on Vartanian last lap. Does it have the same ending? No, Beatty makes the move. McLeod keeps it on the racetrack. Now watch this. If he sets himself up well, he can power off this hairpin and tuck himself right back into the slipstream of Beatty. Try and slingshot him down this back straight. But Beatty was very strong through there, and he's pulled a gap.
Yeah, interesting. Beatty was a little bit higher up the banking, but still managed to find a lot of good speed. Sean Doyle looking for another move on Dennis Hancock here. They're going to be side by side, and the car's still queued up behind them. Is Hancock going to be as brave as Vartanian was? No, not a chance. Speaking of, here comes Vartanian through for another.
That is some supremacy on the brakes that Vartanian has. It really checked up the back 3 of that group as Mookie tried to get it back onto the racetrack in front of Ernie and Mites. They've now fallen away from Vartanian, Hancock and Doyle, who's held 3rd for more than 30 seconds now, after finally taking it away and sticking it this time. Out of the last corner, on board with Beatty, McLeod has wrestled the gap back to within striking distance. It's the white flag this time. One more lap in race 1 at Oulton Park. It's 2 cars scrapping for the win. It's 3 cars scrapping for 3rd. Can Beatty hold him off? Not like that. Can't afford another mistake like that, David.
Yeah, it was quite wide there. Not sure he held a lot of speed out there. Not sure it helped him to go that wide, but he still holds on to the lead for the moment. Now, McLeod's going to have potentially a bit of a run at him, but he's quickly out of opportunities on this lap.
Through turn 3, look at the attitude on those cars as they slide and use all the grip available to them. Through the banked turn 4 hairpin. Has McLeod got enough of a run to make this move over this hill and back down at the chicane? He's certainly stalking him right in his slipstream. I reckon he's going to get there. Look at that. Pulls to the inside with the extra speed and the momentum. Can they go side by side through the chicane? And they do. They don't touch. McLeod at the inside for the next corner. Beatty has to yield, but he doesn't. He keeps the car there. Can he clear him? Because the outside for the next corner is not the place you want to be. He's got an opportunity to squeeze in front of him. Does he do it? Just about leaves the door open. How about this on the final lap? Still, they haven't touched. Half a lap now, side by side. It is going to come down to the final corner. McLeod on the inside. Beatty on the outside. The 2 cars from the front row exit the final corner. Down the hill. And back up the hill they go. It is a drag race. Shortest route to the line for Beatty. And Beatty gets it. By an absolute fraction of a second.
0.019 in the battle between first and second there. Just about 200ths of a second, and behind them it was all action for 3rd that we just couldn't have our eyes on. Sean Doyle is going to get 3rd, Nathan Verney in 4th, and Matthew Mites in 5th. But Vartanian, damage for him, a mistake. It was all going on the last lap. Crazy stuff.
Down into the chicane, a mistake. As Doyle and Hancock ran side by side. Hancock ran wide, tried to rejoin, ended up in the left side of Vartanian. And you'll see it on the replay. Doyle doggedly defended the inside. That's not what Beatty did. It worked out for Beatty, didn't it? So Hancock ends up on his outside, grabs the grass, tries to rejoin. Vartanian's there. He spins around, gets hit again. It checks up Julian Mookie quite a bit and cost him a couple of spots. It allowed Vernie and Mites to sneak through. And David, a close finish between these two drivers as well. Cubby Williams and the rather damaged Dennis Hancock machine. Here comes Williams. That's Hancock in front right now.
Remember, Williams started very, very back of the grid. No qualifying time from Williams at 18th on the grid. And here he is. This is how he grabbed 7th right at the very end.
Oh, took the long route as well to get there. There's the line. Where's the line? There it is. Nabs him. The lack of a front wing and a Red Bull F1 spec front nose cone means that Hancock loses out to 7th on the line. Beatty wins by 0.02 of a second over Mitchell McLeod. Sean Doyle comes home in 3rd after a dogged race between all of them. Ultimately, I think a deserving 3rd place for him. Nathan Verney is 4th ahead of Matthew Mites in 5th. Mookie rather unlucky to be 6th ahead of Cubby Williams. A great drive through the field for him. Hancock 8th, Vartanian only 9th, and Bush home in 10th.
And then Peter Wilkinson has 11th place, Isaac Summers in 12th, Vic Bent Veltzen in 13th, Leon Williams 14th, Jack Patterson 15th, Cameron Cousins there in 16th, having started from the pit lane, made a pit stop in the race, still finishes ahead of Ira Felberg, Braden Martin, and Scott Melville.
So that's our 19 cars done for race 1. Let's stay with us here on Simspeed TV. On the other side of this, we've still got all the action of qualifying and race number 2 with our mandatory pit stop from Oulton Park, round 5 of the Formula Skip Barber Series.
fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going around the outside of both of them. Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up to
these guys I want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh, no. That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh, my God.
God, what?
Welcome back to Oulton Park here on Simspeed TV, proudly presented by Simfinity and Virtual Motorsport Mentor. Cracking first race we saw. Great fight for the lead. Decided about a nose wing away from the start-finish line on the final lap, and a great scrap for third as well. All race long, side by side, probably at least half of it. David looking to race two. They're going to make a pit stop for at least 2 tyres, and anyone that takes more won't be a factor. What are you looking to see in this one? What do you expect?
I think with the monkey off his back, Paul Beatty is an absolute certainty to take this one. Maybe not, but, you know, we'd seen him, you know, be in a position to potentially win quite a few races and it not stick, and now he had to work for it in race 1. But Beatty got himself a race win there. So, yeah, iron out the strategy and certainly count his race pace and racecraft into this one. But it's qualifying now, so that could also have quite a significant factor on this race.
So, 30 seconds into qualifying. There is Kobe Williams after his charge through the field. He'll be hoping to qualify much higher up, albeit not last. And he should be on for a very good result. Just missed out in the top 5 after starting 18th. So, put him up in the top 5 to start with. Reckon he could get up there and challenge potentially even Beatty and McLeod. Jeremy Bush, another one to look out for always in each of our races. Race 1 for him, he wasn't a factor in that scrap up inside the top 10, but we saw how much they're battling. You don't necessarily need the overall car pace here, because the draft worked so well down that back straight, and he ended up finishing 10th in that one. Oh, Iris just torn the right front of his car on that tyre bundle on the inside that he pointed out at the top of the show.
Yeah, indeed. In fact, I was surprised in race 1 we didn't see that many people hit it because, well, it's like a supercars street circuit or something. The apex is that tyre bundle. A lot of time to be made getting close to it. A lot of damage to be had getting too close to it, as Ira discovered there.
Here's Jack Patterson, another representative from 111 Esports, owned by Ira Felberg, as is our series here in Aussie car competition. Jack ended up finishing 15th in race 1. He was the final car in the lead lap. He had some dramas, I think, on the first lap of the race, which curtailed his efforts. Peter Wilkinson, who's always up for a fight, looking to get one spot up on his first performance out and crack the top 10. You commit as hard as you can into the hairpin, knowing that the banking's going to help slow you down just a bit, and then you get the power down to power all the way up this back straight. Normally there's a chicane right here, a very tricky chicane due to the angle of it, but running without it today, which I think is a better option.
And then the chicane, we do have those beautiful, beautiful tyre bundles. Peter Wilkinson cleverly steers clear of, and the run off that chicane important because you climb quite an altitude uphill here and then into what's a double apex right-hander with a bit of a dip on the entry. And then a bit of a crest on the exit as well. So definitely this sort of back half of the circuit here. Very much undulating, very bumpy in the braking zone for the final corner as well, whatever line you're on. And then, of course, out the final corner, track drops away. Peter Wilkinson is kept all of his 4 tyres on the paved stuff so far this lap, and we'll see what that one looks like. A 150.77. Well, for lap 1, it's something.
Indeed it is. Kobe Williams, at the moment, fastest. Expect that to maybe change. Maybe it'll hold out. Ben Velsen crosses the line, puts himself up into 4th as Wilkinson spun it down at turn 2 at the beginning of his second lap, so that's bad news for him. Jeremy Bush comes to the line as well. What does he do on lap number 1? Absolutely nothing. He picks up an off track somewhere. And Mitchell McLeod, pole sitter from race 1, missing out on the win. Crosses the line for his first lap in Q2 and goes straight to the top with a 49 flat. 3/10 clear.
Yeah, solid showing early, but as we say every time, the first flying lap, rarely fully representative with the way the tyres warm up, with how much grip they keep adding. And it might not actually be the best to push them that hard on the outlap and on the first flying lap. Cloud has had a couple poles, so maybe he knows what he's doing.
Elevation change at Oulton Park. Apparently 22 metres.
Is that the total difference between the highest point and the lowest point? Because it sort of feels like you go up and you go down, and then you go up and you go down. And
Yeah.
while that it's maybe not any huge climbs, you're just constantly changing whether you're climbing or sinking or climbing.
Yeah, look, I don't know. that's the
Sounds
difference
impressive.
between your max elevation, your minimum elevation, which might be down there actually at the bottom of that rather awkward area out of that last corner. You go right down and right back up again like a roller coaster. Braden Martin crosses the line, and that lap puts him into 10th. Just a little over 2 seconds away from Kobe's second lap, which put him on pole as Vernie spins out of the last corner. That might ruin his next lap. Williams isn't going to have a third lap because he's in pit lane, which means Mitchell McLeod will be in a very good spot if he goes fastest here. That's a peculiar line. Goes third with that. Don't know if he lost 2/10 by going out there, but could be very tight once he finishes his final lap, which most of the drivers are on. Is Leon Williams.
Thought he was in a bit of trouble there, missing the first apex, but brought it back around for the second apex, and presumably a decent exit to the final corner of his second of 3 laps. Is that a new livery for Leon Williams? Trying to make heads or tails of it as well while I'm observing it for a minute there.
I think he had it last week on that car. Here's Paul Bailey then. His final lap of the session. Can it eclipse Kobe Williams? Oh, yes, it can. By quite some margin. A 48.344 beats out Kobe's 38.697. Vicbert Velsen, I think, has abandoned his lap. Matthew Mites is currently 6th, and as he crosses the line, he will find himself 2nd. That's a very solid improvement for the man that got caught out by lap 1, turn 1 drama in race 1. Jeremy Bush, 15th. Can he nudge up inside the top 10? Nope, that lap doesn't count. Where is Mitchell McLeod? There he is.
Much tighter line, shorter run to the flag on this one for McLeod.
P1. 48.142. That's the fastest we've seen. And it puts him on pole again. Ira Felberg, after collecting the tyre bundle on what was his first lap, is still on the racetrack, putting in his final qualifying lap now. Currently sitting in 12th with a 1 minute 50.6. Bit wide through there, that's going to compromise him. might wrestle it back on this little straight if he got in the power early enough. If you can find a second, you'll pop up inside the top 10. And it's not going to happen. Over-rotated the car, trying to get to the apex of the last corner. So that'll be Felberg's lap pretty much done. He'll practice his pit entry instead. Leon Williams already done all of his laps now in 13th. Jack Patterson 15th is done as well.
Yeah, and we do see this in the practice and qualifying. Drivers making an attempt at pit entry just so they know how much speed they can carry in and how late they can brake in preparation for the pit stop coming up in this race.
Here's how they line up then. Mitchell McLeod on the pole, and Paul Beatty, for the second time in as many races, will start alongside him. Matthew Mites and Kobe Williams, 3rd and 4th. Watch out for Kobe then, with that 4th place starting spot. Vartani in 5th, looking to make amends. Sean Doyle in 6th, looking for another podium. Hancock in 7th, Wilkinson in 8th. Julian Mookie, Braden Martin, 9th and 10th.
Yeah, teammates alongside each other on row 5 there, but behind them is Vic Bent-Veltzen and Ira Felberg on row 6, Leon Williams and Isaac Summers on row 7, Jack Patterson and Nathan Verney on row 8, and Jeremy Bush and Cameron Cousins on row 9. Tell you what, Verney got 4th in race 1, so it's almost a surprise to see him that far back in this race, but longer race, pit stop required, maybe he can do something about it.
All of those points make me keep an eye out on Kobe Williams, 18th to, 7th in 8 laps. Now he's got 13 laps to go from 4th. As long as they get through this first lap cleanly, something that Matthew Mites we're desperately trying to do. He's on the outside in race 1, and he got tagged from behind. Race 2 is green. Can Beatty get the start like he did in race 1? Not quite. So McLeod will lead us down towards turn 1. Beatty will follow him in 2nd. Mites gets through turn 1 this time in 3rd. Oh, just about. He was a bit slow on the exit, and Kobe Williams rounds him up on the outside. Mario Vartanian going to follow him through as well. And Mites going backwards again, this time without damage though.
And that turn 2, downhill and sweeping, very difficult on the cold tyres. Seems like everyone at the front of the field has worked their way through cleanly as they're going to go side by side for 2nd here. Behind, a lot of troubles for Summers and others.
Way up the hill and back down again comes Zara Felberg. I wonder if he kept it off the fence. Lack of a front wing suggests probably not. Matthew Mites is done, no. Bad luck for him in both races, and after strong qualifying performances, this is the replay of Ira Felberg at the back of the shot. Some drama for his teammate, and then Felberg shoots off with his other teammate. And then what happened to Mites? Hit from behind by Sean Doyle, and big contact with the inside tyre bundle.
Yeah, Mites and Doyle both getting loose there, and Doyle behind helping him around. Sweeping corner. Cold tyres, not a good recipe.
Add hot heads in there as well, and you truly have a recipe for disaster. A recipe fit for Jay's style of cooking. So, Williams has got himself up to 2nd from 4th on the grid. At the end of lap 1, 1.4 seconds away from McLeod. Does anyone dive straight to the lane? Yes. Kobe Williams, Paul Beatty, Hancock's gone around. You can see in the back of the shot, everyone diving to pit lane as well. As Hancock has to do the old bad rejoin trick. Who was that there to avoid him?
I missed it. It might have been Summers or Cousins. But he's busy on pit lane with your leader, McLeod, and your winner from race 1, Paul Beatty, Kobe Williams, Sean Doyle, all in there as well. Here's the race off, and look how much closer Williams has gotten to McLeod just through the pit stops there.
Gained about a second there, I reckon. There's about 3/4 of the field pit on the first lap. Maybe slightly less. But the pit stops haven't worked out well for McLeod there. who's just avoided a spinner at turn 2, Jack Patterson. Williams then tucked up and will be in range to get his toe like Beatty did in race 1. Martin spins as well at turn 2. Everyone running into dramas early on in this feature race. Lap 2 of 13 already. A lot of pit stops have been completed as here's Leon Williams and Jeremy Bush battling into the chicane. That doesn't work out for Bush.
What we think might be the effective race lead, though, Kobe Williams is right on the tail of Mitch McLeod. Gained a second through the pit stop, has almost gone and gained another second in the opening half of the lap. So Williams very confident with the cold tyres. Is it going to stay that way for the next 11 laps?
Wonder if Kobe just inherently more confident with the car as well. Compared to Mitch, maybe a bit more practice as well. They flash by our cameras. Despite being low downforce, low powered, still cracking some decent speeds that would make the average grandma tremor at the thought of it, as Vartanian pits 155 across the line for McLeod in terms of speed, and as he dabs the brakes towards turn 1, he eclipsed 170 kilometers an hour. Leon Williams looks like he also pitted. So McLeod now back up to 6, just 5 cars yet to make their pit stops. I think, David, turn 2 has been an area that McLeod's been struggling today.
It's not my favourite corner, to be honest with you. You come downhill, there's a bit of a bump right on turn in, and, well, goodness, the exit has very little curbing. It's just straight into the grass. Oh, he's locked up for the hairpin, and he's well wide.
Now, the only benefit to that is he was able to straighten the car up very quickly and power down onto the straight, but Kobe carried a lot more momentum overall, and in the long run, he's going to pull the slingshot move on the inside. Does his braking performance match that of McLeod's or Vartanian's? It matches that of Vartanian's. The supremacy he showed in race 1. Williams shows similar braking supremacy there and takes the lead away from McLeod, courtesy of a mistake from that talking driver. Dare say that Kobe won't be pulling away from him though, so we'll keep a close eye on that as the race progresses. Up at the current lead of the race, it's Ben Wilkinson and Nathan Verney.
Yeah, Verney's opting for this strategy where he's staying out a little bit longer. Maybe hope that he can overcut some of those drivers who out-qualified him. The struggle, though, is he's more than 2 seconds a lap faster than Peter Wilkinson. He's actually getting held up a little bit there, potentially. Meanwhile, Kobe and Mitch McLeod. McLeod, despite having sort of almost given away that position, didn't see much of a defence. He's sticking with Kobe Williams, and I think that's the plan, is for the long run here.
Worth noting that Paul Beatty did the fastest lap of the race that time. And he's just about 3 seconds away from these drivers, so...
The fastest clean lap of the race, Williams was 0.2 faster, but it didn't count for the fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, no, you've got a point there. Officially, Beatty was fastest. Unofficially, Kobe was fractionally quicker and pulled an overtake off as well in the midst of that. No change between... Wait, no, that is a change. Just happened already. Verney ahead of Wilkinson now. Then comes Bush, then comes Van Velzen, then comes Summers, who's got Williams and McLeod, if he looks in his mirror, looking very close to him. As I was saying, 3 seconds ahead of Beatty then, who, if he keeps pushing on, still has a chance if Kobe and McLeod start battling the way we saw the P3 battle unfold over in race 1, or alternatively, if they catch Summers in an awkward spot here. Just don't forget that 111 Esports car. Not obliged to let them go. This is for position. But he has just said he's pitting in this lap.
Yeah, I'm sure Beatty would have very much liked the early pit stop to have backfired on Williams and McLeod and then catch a little bit of traffic. But in the end, that might not be the case, as Isaac Summers is going to head for pit entry, send McLeod and Williams up yet another spot.
Pit entry siren at Oulton Park and every other track at iRacing. Where's that petition for whistles at Australian tracks? Has it come through yet? It's Williams and McLeod continue dicing.
Sound like a rave on lap 1 if we had that.
The charge out of pit lane in Scops qualifying. Could you imagine? It'd be a K. It starts with a K, and that's about all I know.
Cacophony?
Yes, that's the word. A cacophony. That doesn't sound right. I think that's the word.
Cacophony.
Ah! I was thinking cacophony.
Cacophony. I can hear like 3 different quote walls being lit up right now, but...
I know. It'd be a cacophony of sounds, of whistles being blared on the opening lap of Scops qualifying, and I want it to happen. McLeod, meanwhile, is probably thinking about more urgent matters, such as winning this race, overcoming Kobe's brilliant drive overall today, 18th to 4th, 18th to 7th, and now 4th to 1st. Net first. Little error there. Cost him a car length or 2, and McLeod edged closer, but this main straight isn't really long enough to make any moves other than what we saw from Beatty fending off McLeod with that shorter run to the line, which was an interesting quirk to this straight, where if you're on the outside for the last corner, you have the shortest route to get to the start-finish line, which can really help you in those drag races to the line that we've seen so often in this series, as we saw again at the end of the first race. It is a new official fastest lap of the race from McLeod on that lap. Still not as quick as what Kobe did a few laps ago, though, with the off-track.
Oh, I thought Kobe had a 48.1 with the off-track, but, you know, fastest official lap, yes. Spent Velton, he just had his pit stop, and he's rejoined right behind Braden Martin and Jeremy Bush. About a lap ago, Martin sent it down the inside of the hairpin on Jeremy Bush and somehow managed to find grip down the inside and make that one stick. Might be Vic Bent Veltson's turn for that move once he's warmed those tyres up a teeny bit more, potentially.
I think you're right. He should be able to come back at Jeremy Bush here, and maybe even Braden Martin as well. Still keeping my eye on that battle between McLeod and Beatty, not Williams, Beatty, 2nd and 3rd, on the gap between them. It is edging out, so the longer these two stay single file, that is Kobe and McLeod, the harder it becomes for Beatty to become a factor in the effective race lead. Here's Vartanian, here's Martin. Vartanian, that's not Martin that he's gone by. That's Mookie that he's battling with. Martin's teammate.
Indeed, they were talking teams championship or some such earlier. Vartanian's not helped himself with how wide he went on the exit of the final corner there, which is so easy to do. You come over the crest and the car just wants to push out wide there.
If you take a very, very close look, maybe a little bit later, at his front wing, you'll notice it's not quite aligned how it should be either. Not quite noticeable, but it's definitely the front right, for looking at it from this angle. There you go. That part of the wing should be up a little bit higher, I think, or down lower. Either way, it's not straight. As he goes by, doesn't seem to be affecting them too much.
Maybe not the perfect line through the hairpin there. Really seems like right up against the curb on the right-hand side is where all the grip and the speed is. But he still made it work. Vernie in the lead, starting to pull just a little bit of a gap on Peter Wilkinson. But they're not doing the same pace that Williams, McLeod, Beatty and some others are doing.
Hey, Mookie got back by him. Good job. So when you've got damage to your front wing, now you might see it with Vartanian. The way his car's damaged on the right-hand side, so through this left-hander, he won't feel it too much, because the right side's unloaded. It's the left side that's working. Steady on, steady on. It's working very hard on the grass there. Through that turn 3 kink, that's where it'll be affecting him the most. It's a high-speed corner. The right side's incredibly loaded, and the downforce is working really hard there. What little downforce they actually have. In terms of straight line performance, it doesn't affect him, unless he managed to knock the engine as well. We'll cast our eyes away from that, and we'll cast it back to Williams and McLeod, though, for now, because McLeod has edged a little bit closer. But again, through turn 2, he struggles a little bit and loses a little bit of ground.
Yeah, but more than edged a little bit closer, he's absolutely smashed the fastest lap of the race out the park by about half a second or so there. So he really got a good run, found a bit of a good toe on the previous lap, and has closed the gap to Williams down to precious, precious little.
Lap 8 of 13, so this would have been the last lap of our sprint race. We've got an extra 5 still to go. 9, 10, yeah, math adds up. And they're still not actually leading the race. We're still waiting on Nathan Verney and Peter Wilkinson to pit. But once they do, they will cycle back to the lead. Verney and Wilkinson, where are they going to rejoin, David? Might be somewhere around that Mookie-Vartanian battle, or are we thinking maybe Martin and Bush?
Hard to know, isn't it? I think we're looking at about 25 seconds of delta or so. I think Verney will end up just behind Mookie and Vartanian, but just behind them, noticeably ahead of Martin. Unless the silliness that we just saw there continued, that was very well wide. Mookie fighting off Vartanian, where Mookie got well out of shape. Might actually help Verney now, I think about it, if Mookie and Vartanian keep fighting.
Yeah, no kidding. Being by yourself is often the best thing to do. When others are battling, they're holding themselves up and sometimes even crashing into each other. McLeod keeps helping my case. He was strong through 1, weak through 2, but the straight helps him out. He gains the time back, which means overall it's not hurting him that much. Maybe stops him from making a move at 3, but that's a risky move. One that we've seen not pay off. Has paid off a couple times for a couple drivers, though, as that's Vartanian getting very close to Mookie through that very corner I spoke about, then going for the crisscross down at turn 4, and did that quite nicely, I must say.
Yeah, these guys have just gone and lost on the last lap or so about 2 seconds to Nathan Verney, who's also someone they need to consider that they're really fighting against. Vartanian, the right-hand side of the circuit, that's the inside. Mookie is going to break super deep in there as well, but not quite enough.
Battle resumes. They're 24 seconds away from Verney and Wilkinson. Martin and Bush are 40 seconds away, which I would say pit transit time with your stop is probably either 24 seconds or 40 seconds. So he's going to come out with one of those groups. I just don't know which one it is. I'd probably err more on the side of 40 seconds than 24, but we'll see. They'll have to pit next lap or this lap. Remember, if you pit at the end of lap 12, you're likely to end up pitting past the start-finish line and therefore on the final lap, therefore illegal in this series. So they've got to be careful with that. There's Vartanian and Mookie. Cross the line again. This time Vartanian ahead, but Mookie's still sticking with him. Still being very liberal at turn 1 is Mario. Tell you what, he wouldn't get on well in Formula 1.
No, him and Michael Massey, I'm not sure. Lap time
I wasn't
deleted
talking
again.
about track limits. More, no, I'm kidding. Mario's a good driver. He's a good driver. Yeah, track limits. Yeah, even Michael Massey, as you say, they wouldn't get on very well.
Trying to work out, I think Vernie's actually had a pretty sloppy lap here. Wilkinson's really closed him up. Vartanian and Mookie have gotten about a second closer. So I wonder if maybe it's about time for a pit stop here for your drivers out front. The only two drivers left yet to pit, Vernie and Wilkinson.
I reckon maybe one more lap for these two. You got to go the full mile. Yep, that's a left turn, so he's staying out. That car's been in pit lane for quite some time, though. The number 7 of Cameron Cousins. Been having a few connectivity issues all night long as well, which is a shame for him. 3 laps to go. McLeod and Williams once again battling away. One green car in race 1 replaced by another. Beatty replaced by Kobe. Is McLeod going to fall short by a whisker again, or can he get one up and over and actually convert from the pole this time? As he just shows the nose and fills the mirrors there of Kobe Williams in towards turn 3. Maybe trying to make him overdrive the corner, throw him off for turn 4, setting McLeod up for a move into turn 5. The chicane. Oh, that's not going to help either of them. That was the opportunity for McLeod. Williams dropping the left sides off the road, but then McLeod would have one-upped him. Threw all 4 tyres off the road. So Kobe gets away with that mistake.
Those guys just need to do that every corner a couple more times, and Paul Beatty will get them. He would have closed them a little bit then, but not quite enough. Just tantalizingly 3 seconds off the battle for the race win.
McLeod and Kobe, 2 both aggressive drivers. Beatty won't be counting out his chances. Expect Vernie and Wilkinson to pit this lap then. Reckon Wilkinson's been a bit restrained as well, not fighting Vernie. Think he probably could have got there if he wanted to. They both take the right and they come in. They get it stopped, crucially, just about.
Hard right turn to get his pit box.
He only just made it into that. Unsurprisingly, the leaders go by. Kobe over McLeod, still no change there. Beatty goes through as well, that's not a surprise. Vartanian and Mookie will go by. Maybe not much of a surprise. But they are going to come out not far behind them, so well ahead of Wilkinson, of Martin and Bush, but not exactly in the group of Vartanian and Mookie. I think I'd call that in the middle.
Well, a little closer to Vartanian and Mookie than he is to Braden Martin, but not right on the tail of Vartanian and Mookie. And with those cold tyres for the last couple laps here, probably not going to catch them unless they fight real hard.
Bright green strikes a very striking image down the back straight in amongst the drab green that's the grass around Oulton Park. I've never figured out what that is on the track there, whether it's Speedy Dry that happens to be down when the track was surfaced, or whether Oulton Park just has a really bad track surface.
It looked like someone's radiator leaked peroxide and has bleached part of the track there, which is not a thing, but it's almost what it looks like. So true to life when they scanned this circuit.
Up the hill. One more lap. Kobe Williams looking to go from the back in race 1 to the front at the end of race 2. McLeod, desperate not to finish the bridesmaid twice in one night. It's 3.2 seconds back to Beatty. Ready and waiting. Should it erupt in front of him? Can McLeod get turn 2 right finally? He's definitely set up more for the exit rather than the entry. And you can see the payoff for him as he gets closer to the gearbox of Kobe in towards turn 3. How's the exit look? On board, right hand side of McLeod. He's there. Kobe's going to have to defend out. This is on. And McLeod has a great run over the crest. Can he outbrake him? Going to be a battle on the brakes into the chicane. And McLeod almost wins it. Kobe just hangs on. He clears him in the second part. Kobe grabs the grass as well. That might be it.
Uphill battle, figuratively and literally, to get back into the lead from here. Williams made a bit of a dog's breakfast of that one. Tried to fight around the outside, found some grass, and has seen a great race kind of come undone for him.
Shows how good of a job Beatty did in race 1 to hold on from the spot that Kobe was in that time round. Because that's exactly where Beatty was. But McLeod is still having to defend the inside for the last corner. Williams went for the crossover, got it slightly wrong, couldn't do it. Mitchell McLeod, on the second time of asking, is going to convert from the pole, and McLeod wins race 2 at Oulton Park. Kobe comes home short in second place. It is P3 for Beatty in the end.
Mario Vartanian looks like he's going to hold on to fourth, but Julian Mookie wasn't happy with the track limits for Vartanian on the final lap. May think that that cost him an opportunity to try and stick a pass.
Being well documented throughout this event, how liberal Mario has been in that regard. Sean Doyle, unfortunate for him, after claiming a brilliant P3 in race 1, it will be outside the top 10, probably 12th for him in race 2. He's got by Ira on this lap, so he's going to avoid finishing 13th. Damaged Ira's car. I wonder if that came at the beginning of this lap. Front wing wobbling about. Doyle's car looks relatively clean, so it's just been a case of, well, I don't know what, but it's
three pit stops for Sean Doyle in this race.
That's right.
That's why the car's clean right now, because he's had a couple of times to repair it. Unfortunately, this race hasn't gone the way he would have liked compared to race 1.
That's pretty much everyone to the line then. Let's go through our race results. From the end of race 2, it is a Mitchell McLeod win at Oulton Park. Kobe Williams in second. Paul Beatty picks up third to round out a double podium for him. Vartanian fourth. Mookie fifth. Nathan Verney picks up P6, plus 10 for him in that race. Peter Wilkinson 7th. Great strategy from both of them. Braden Martin 8th. Jeremy Bush 9th. Big Fred Belson picks up P10.
Then for 11th was Leon Williams, up 2 positions, but Sean Doyle in 12th, down 6 positions. Ira Felberg down 1 position there in 13th. Isaac Summers in 14th. Matthew Mites 15th. Jack Patterson in 16th was the last car on the lead lap, because behind him, it's basically all retirements. We documented some of the problems for Cameron Cousins. Dennis Hancock also with a race to forget.
Well, let's have a chat to our race 1 winner, Paul Beatty. Congratulations, double podium, race 1 win. Good night out.
Yeah, it makes a nice change. I didn't sort of stuff anything up. That was real good fun racing. That really good.
It was a lot of fun to call as well. Talk us through that battle with McLeod then, especially that final lap coming right down to the...
I was sort of going to be quite cautious in that one, because I'm sort of looking at the championship table at the moment, and I'm not really racing against Mitchell. But I don't know. Sometimes you just got to go for it, haven't you? And it was a lot of fun. So we gave each other room. I didn't think I'd get him, but yeah, just got him on the last bend there. So yeah, it was a good race.
Race 2, what was the difference for you? Qualified in the same spot, lost out down at turn 1. It was just a case of dirty air, was holding you back a little bit and cost you that 3-second margin to the top 2?
No, it's weird, that one. I sort of ended up 3 seconds down after the pit stop, or 4 seconds, and just sort of sat there in my own little bubble. Not a lot to do, really. Podium's a podium.
Indeed it is. Who do you want to thank for helping you get it done?
Oh, the mighty Van Diemen Racing Team Milo, of course.
And your support in the YouTube chat as well, Russell Clark, always there cheering you on. Good job.
Yeah, sometimes it is.
Other times he's having a go at your mistakes, which you made none of today. Congratulations on that effort. We'll see you next time out at Spa.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thanks for the call, folks. I'll see you next week.
Paul Beatty walks through with a first and a third. David, final thoughts?
Oulton Park's not so bad for these little cars, is it? We saw quite a fair bit of racing, and I think the fact that passing wasn't easy kept some of the battles going, but passing was definitely possible. And we had some, I think, well-deserving winners today.
Indeed, we did. We will decide our deserving overall winner next time out when we go to Circuit de Spa. Franco Sharps, I actually don't know how to pronounce it, but, we're going to Spa, as I should stick to calling it, to round out our season. And that will be at the same time, 7:30 Australian Eastern Daylight Time next Thursday night. Make sure to like Simspeed Sports Network to stay up to date with all of our latest broadcasts in between then, now, and forever into the future. But for tonight, from myself, Ryan Jones, David Haynes alongside me, and Jay Kennedy behind the scenes, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's got rid of the outside of both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh my God! Big crash! Oh my goodness! Half the field's gonna get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go.
Oh no!
That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?